Hi there, I'm Kat and this is Justine. We're the directors of Pop Architecture. Today I'll be presenting Fallow House, a project designed in collaboration with Karyne Murphy Studio and Amanda Oliver Gardens. This is our first time entering the awards and this project meets the criteria of emerging project. This presentation will first focus on the concept development, followed by a detailed look through the project and finishing with a statement about the project's position in the current architectural landscape, as well as our contribution as an emerging practice. This project is a new two-storey home in Melbourne's southeast. As with any of our projects, we're always looking to distill the myriad site factors into a concise architectural form. For this project, the main factors were the huge potential which lay in the northern aspect, and also in a curious way, the banality of the 1980s residential typology, which is prolific in the suburb. There's a great series of works by Bill Henson from 1985, which elevate this ubiquitous landscape of tiled roofs into an abstract and textured surface. We were interested in doing something similar here, where we reinterpreted the local context. We were also struck by how dense the context felt, despite the large scale of blocks, resulting in a real lack of privacy. These factors ultimately manifested in a framework of exploring scale and proportion, as well as light on textured surface. These diagrams demonstrate how the overarching framework informed the architectural outcome. The client had extensive program requirements, particularly skewed to what they wanted to accommodate on ground floor. And in the context of the streetscape, we wanted to play with scale by merging the articulation of level 1 and the roof plane, avoiding that popular pancake architecture of the area. In order to ensure light and ventilation into every room, we split the building, consolidating the two-level portion to the south of the block. Mindful of the varying scale of the adjacent street frontages, we broke down the mass of the building into smaller interconnecting volumes which peel away from the street. This also had the advantage of creating opportunity for multi-aspect rooms, focused views, and variation in internal volume. The ultimate form makes sense of these moves with a unifying material treatment which pays homage to that textured roofscape. You can see from these facade images what I mean by merging the upper level with the roof. Level 1 is treated with a vertically fluted stone, which changes in character over the course of the day, giving that ephemeral texture which we love so much in those Bill Henson photos. The textured element sits on a monolithic plinth which contains the ground floor program. In tandem with developing the form, we developed the floor plan. With such extensive program requirements and on a long block, we zoned the program. On ground level, the south building contains the arrival zone, the master suite and the study, while the north building contains the living zones. Level 1 is essentially a guest suite for when their family stays for extended periods. In all instances, the ancillary zones are located to the south of the blocks, giving habitable rooms the best amenity, but still allowing these ancillary zones natural light and great views. This is just after you've entered the house. Given the length of the building, we wanted to punctuate the journey through the house with a moment to pause. The corridor expands just before the courtyard, and you can see over the northern form, which from this angle is deliberately unobtrusive, allowing light in and giving you views to the sky. In this zone, we've also explored the material articulation of the front facade. In this bathroom, which faces the street, you can see how this monolithic stone treatment is mimicked. Level 1 of the southern building, you can see how we've used the roof plane of the northern building as a screening mechanism for the level 1 windows. On our first visit, we were really surprised how visible you were to neighbouring properties. There was a real lack of privacy, which we were really keen to work around. We wanted to create a passive separation between this house and the neighbours that didn't rely on using crude screening devices. And we really love that what we've created provides a serene sort of Bill Henson inspired roofscape in the foreground, and that your eyes then led to the sky above. Another feature of level 1 are the long views. And these focused long views are a really key characteristic of this project, where they create amenity, but still retain privacy. The vertical fluting of the external stone is also reflected in the internal materials. Moving to the north building, there's a transition of scale from double-storey urban street frontage to a much more intimate scale, which relates more closely to the backyard and the ground plane. There we are. One of the key features of the northern building is the clerestory window created by the scullion roof, which pumps light deep into the floor plate. With the client being a big entertainer, they had really extensive requirements about how many guests they wanted to accommodate and the various activities that they wanted to do. We wanted to avoid a cavernous feel to these large living spaces, so they're interconnected but adjustable to feel comfortable with large or small groups. Finally, in the north building, we continue to play with this idea of texture versus solid, but in this case, bringing the datum down to bench height. The reason for this was again to explore scale and proportion and how this affects your experience of space. The heart of this project really goes to our practice ethos, which is about collaboration and listening to people. We worked with the interior designer and the landscape designer from project inception through to completion. The architecture, interiors, and landscape are conceived of holistically. There's no delineation.
1 minute remaining.
A key feature of this project was how we worked with the client to look for ways to optimise their brief. Critically, it's designed so that you can zone the use of it. So if you choose, you can be energy efficient. You don't have to be running the whole thing at one time. In the broader context, we think this project is significant because it thinks critically about the market of large homes. This project relentlessly pursues intelligent passive design principles and gives occupants the opportunity to use energy mindfully. Lighting, heating, and cooling are optional for large portions of the time, embedding sustainable living into the design. Thanks.